Robert, we actually had a case where an entire house was built on the wrong lot. And it was, and that can happen, if it's an absentee owner
Yeah.
and the owner just, owns a lot somewhere and maybe in Houston or Dallas and the owner lives in New York and some guy just accidentally builds the house on the wrong lot.
Hey, thank you, sir, for
And
building me a new house.
right, that was a bad one.
I
So,
imagine what are you gonna do? Come lift the slab up and get it off the property and put some dirt back on there?
you
That's
know,
crazy.
Welcome to Silberman Realty's Property Desk Podcast, episode 11, where we talk about all things residential real estate in Texas. Today is March 25th, 2026, and I'm Phil Silberman, owner of the company and your host, and I'm joined by my co-host today, Robert Vernon, who's a real estate agent with Silberman Realty.
Hey, Phil.
Robert, hey, good to
Good to
see
see
you.
you.
Thank you as always for doing the show. Today we're going to be answering just questions that come to us as a property management company. This is going to be our property management special segment type of piece show today. So let's go ahead and just get right into the first question. What do we do when an owner dies? Have you ever had a property, Robert, we've been managing, maybe you were leasing, where an owner passed away and kind of needed to know what to do?
I've had tenants pass away, but I haven't had any
Okay.
owners particularly pass away. When that happens, that goes more to our management team, and they get more involved. But I haven't come across that. So, what should we do in these situations? Tell me,
Well,
Phil.
well, let me kind of tell you something you may not know. Both landlords and tenants will eventually die. Okay.
They will.
And you've heard the saying, the good die young.
Yes, they do.
Uh, I'll, I'll let you decide which one of those groups will die young. Okay. Tenants or landlords. So
We can
don't,
all they can fall in both categories there. So,
right, don't answer that question. We know where our bread is buttered, Robert. Okay. So, all right. Well, what do we do when an owner dies? Okay. So, basically when that happens, that piece of real estate becomes part of an estate. Now it belongs to somebody on the date of death. So if you're an owner and you die without a will, that property is going to pass to your heirs via intestacy laws. So, simplest situation. If you're an owner and you've got no spouse and you've got one child and you made no will, almost certainly that property will pass to the child. And, really, Robert, all that needs to happen then is you do like a quick affidavit of heirship form and just give us some notice like, hey, I'm the son or the child of the owner that just passed away. Here's the affidavit of heirship. I'm the new owner of the property. And we would probably enter into a new management agreement with that child. So now
yeah, it
if the
makes
owner
sense to
does,
have that affidavit of heirship because you don't know who's calling you. Hey,
no,
so and so just died. I just inherited this property. How are we supposed to believe who that is on the other end? So that does make
no.
sense to get that affidavit. I didn't know about that prior, so that's good. It's good info.
Yeah, it happens more frequently than you would think. Sometimes there's a situation where a landlord does in fact have a will and that property is going to pass according to the will, and that will might need to be probated. Okay, at that point. So
Yeah.
maybe a probate needs to be done. You'll often have people call up and say, hey, I need to get letters testamentary, letters of administration. That's basically a document from the court that says, all right, I'm in charge of this owner's estate. What do we do?
I
So,
got a hypothetical for you question.
mm,
So
yeah,
let's
yeah.
say the owner dies and the tenant it's held up in a probate situation, but we're talking to this son who has been kind of taken over. Let's say the lease is
Mhm,
now up and it's up for renewal. Are we
mhm.
allowed to do a renewal on that while it's still in probate, or do we have to go on a month to month until it goes through its probate situation to know what we're going to do on a new lease agreement? Does that son have legal authority to sign on a new contract with a renewal
Mhm.
during a probate?
Right. I would say the answer to that is the technically legally correct answer is the son has authority when he gets appointed as executor or administrator of the estate. So once he's appointed as administrator, he can sign on behalf of the estate, and the lease can be done with the estate.
Got
So
it. Okay.
that's that's one way to handle it. You can also, if it's again, if it's a really simple issue and he's the only heir or the children are the only heirs, it may not even need a probate, and you can kind of shortcut it with an affidavit of heirship. But good
Got it.
question. I'm sensing that's a real situation. So that
Right.
you're,
I mean, it happens. You never know.
yeah, right. All right, let's move on to our next question. What happens when a tenant does not get a security deposit refund check? Now, Robert, I know this is again on the management side, but
Oh no, I
the
get the
tenants,
text messages because they know that I placed them in there and they want to know an answer. Why I have not got my security deposit? It's been a week. And
right. So the default law is after a tenant surrenders possession of the property and gives a notice of affording address, you've got about 30 days as a landlord or management company to get the deposit back with an accounting. Um, so we're pretty good about that. Now, we do not send the mail, the deposit, the accounting tracking. We just send it United States Postal Service regular mail. Should we do that? Maybe if you are a mom and pop landlord and you just have one property, you want to spend the money on the certified mail return receipt requested. But then you have this other issues. Okay, great. I'm proving that I sent it. But Robert, tenants have a bad habit of declining certified mail. Did you know that?
oh yeah, because a lot of tenants out there are always being served with credits and different types of issues, and so they're just it's just an automatic thing in their mind to go ahead and still, oh, I don't want that. No, that's not me. So
Yeah. There's some kind of folklore, I think, or urban myth or whatever that you can somehow be safe if you refuse certified mail. So sending it certified mail is kind of a problem. So we just send it regular mail. We had this one tenant get really mad at us because sometimes mail gets lost. I know that was kind of a problem for you, Robert, when we were doing checks back and forth and all that. But
yeah,
um, sometimes mail gets lost, and we send out hundreds of these deposits a year. And I guess we sent it out and it got lost. And the tenant did not believe that we actually sent it. And the tenant got really mad. I was like, well, we need to wait 30 days from the time we processed it to see if you get it, because sometimes the mail will find it and send it, eventually deliver it. She was really mad about it. And sure enough, I mean, it was like a couple of weeks, and then the check did show up and she received it. But she was not a happy camper. But if you call us up and you're like, hey, it's been 5 days, 10 days, I still haven't gotten it, we have said, well, we have to wait 30 days for it not to arrive, and then we'll reissue another check. And then Robert, because they read the property code, or now they ask AI, they know that if you don't get them their deposit back within 30 days, that you can be liable for 3 times the damages of the deposit or something. So they think that's a huge amount of ammunition, and they threaten to sue us and the landlord for 3 times damages of the deposit. So if the deposit's like $2,000, I guess they could sue us for, $6,000, something like that, right? Well, that doesn't scare us too much because they're missing sort of the standard in there, which is a bad faith standard. You have to do something in bad faith, and we didn't do anything in bad faith. We actually mailed it out. Our assistant or the person doing that, she can sign an affidavit of mailing. If you sue us, we can go to JP court or go to district court. She'll get up there and testify. She'll say, my name is Jill Smith, and I worked for Silberman Realty, and I mailed it out on certain day, and I'm testifying to that fact.
yeah. Unfortunately,
Have
on AI, there's good and bad. And what I've noticed since AI has become a thing is we do get a lot of AI responses and demands and things from people. AI is not very good at knowing about what good faith is and not what good faith is. It takes everything very literally. And so they do see that and they think, oh, I got them. And they just copy and paste and resend it over to us. Like, I can obviously tell this
yeah.
was not you. This was an AI generated response. And I get that on a couple of other things too. But I have noticed that AI does not give people fully accurate information. So your job is safe for now.
Well, so you're seeing, that's a good point. You're seeing a lot of AI emails fly back and forth from tenants, Robert.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. You can tell the language, the hyphens are used a lot with AI. So if you use AI enough to play with it, you know how it generates responses. And we do get responses with AI generation a lot.
Yeah. It's a big problem on the law firm side
Oh, I
of
can
things.
imagine. Yeah.
Our clients are using it. It's wrong all the time. I mean, in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing, it can be a very powerful tool. But yeah, tenants using AI. I mean, I could see it doing some good, but it's also, I can see it getting off the rails very quickly. So, all right, now let's move on to our next question. Here's an interesting one, and this really happened. Doesn't I don't know if you read the answer, maybe, so you know, but you can tell me what you would have guessed, or maybe you don't know. Robert, what happened is that one of our owners had an air condition out, and it wasn't diagnosed or whatever, maybe it was even worse than that. Maybe the AC was running and it was fine, and an AC vendor or repairman went out there and just replaced the entire AC
Oh, wow.
without the owner's approval. I mean, and we didn't know what. I don't know the exact facts, but let's just assume these are the facts. Okay,
Okay.
you've got a tenant out there,
All right.
and maybe the tenant, is living in the house, and no one's at home. Tenant's gone. Owner's not there, and the AC guy just gets the wrong house. Okay, somehow he gets. Let's just assume somehow he gets in the house. Tenant's at work, and the AC is just the AC guy finishes, replaces the entire AC, and boom, the owner and tenant have a brand new AC, and tenant notices, wow, this is like really efficient. My AC never got this cold before. It's the middle of July, and it's like, oh, this is awesome.
Lucky
And
me.
then the
Lucky
AC,
me.
right, and the AC guy sends our management company an invoice for like $8,000. Oh, well, please pay. We send it over to the owner, and the owner says, I never authorized that. Did you authorize it? Where Robert, we said, no, we never authorized it.
No.
What do you think happens? Do you think the AC guy he deserves payment from the owner that didn't know, or do you think the
Uh,
AC guy's out of luck?
well, I hope he kept the old AC in his back of his truck because he might want to go and reinstall it and take his new AC back out. It sounds like the HVAC contractor probably should do a little bit more due diligence on where he's going and what he's putting in and make sure he has right approval. But if maybe like communication got crossed or something and he thought he had the approval and he really didn't have the approval, I don't know where that go. Where does it go? You tell me, Phil. What do we have to do in that situation?
Well, so the law, okay, you can try to if you're the AC company, you can try to threaten and sue the homeowner and say, well, and this was the question from our repair staff, isn't there something called unjust enrichment, right? It has like the idea that you got something for free and you were enriched, and you should have to pay. Okay. And that is a concept in the law, but there's also something called quantum merit where, is kind of a similar concept, but they're both equitable concepts. Here's the thing. If there's no real expectation and the homeowner, was gone, the tenant was gone, in the state of Texas, under the law, we don't force people to pay for things that they didn't actually contract for. So the law might say we don't force a benefit. We don't by providing someone a benefit, we don't force an obligation upon them. Okay. So the AC guy, the short answer is the AC guy is probably out of luck.
So what would happen? Yeah, okay, go ahead. Unless, let's hear the unless.
So unless the homeowner was like lived across the street and it was his rental house across the street, and he notices the AC guy over there, and the homeowner's like watching him install the new unit, and the homeowner's like deviously,
I got him.
I got him. He's installing a new unit, and I'm just gonna watch this happen. If that's the case, that's a game changer. Okay.
Yeah.
If the owner says nothing, that's and the homeowner knows they're making a mistake, that type of silence is an act of acceptance. Okay. So
Yeah, that you can't do all that.
right. Now we do have on my law firm side of things, Robert. We have this happen a lot with roofs. Okay, can you believe it?
Oh,
Like
I
because it
imagine. Yeah, that's the one you get
because
because the guys are told where to go. They just go and get on the roof and start going, and if nobody questions it, oh, we're at 358, not 357. Uh-oh.
those
Yeah.
guys do, and you don't have to get access inside the house to get a
Right.
new
You just get
roof,
on and go. No one even has to know you
right?
were there.
That actually, so we've had that case with the roof at the law firm, and again, the homeowner was away, not watching it happen. Robert, we actually had a case where an entire house was built on the wrong lot. And it was, and that can happen, if it's an absentee owner
Yeah.
and the owner just, owns a lot somewhere and maybe in Houston or Dallas, and the owner lives in New York, and some guy just accidentally builds the house on the wrong lot.
Hey, thank you, sir, for
And the
building me a new house.
right, that was a bad one.
I
So,
imagine making a dude come lift the slab up and get it off the property and put some dirt back on there.
you
That's
know,
crazy. Well, I do have a question. So, like, you said that in the state of Texas, you can't force the owner to pay it if they didn't know. And let's say the contractor doesn't care. They still want their
mhm,
money. And they go put a lien on your property and they keep you from
yeah.
selling your home. Is there anything keeping them from putting that lien on the property?
No, no, there's not, and that's sort of a different but related question. I always say the county clerk's office, they record things. They'll record anything you take down there,
Right.
and they don't know what's a valid lien and what's not a valid lien. So if a contractor goes down there and just asks them to record a lien, it's going to be an encumbrance on the property. So that homeowner is going to have to pay an attorney to have it removed.
So it
So
can become
yes,
a
it's
legal fee issue for the owner, even though they're not obligated to pay for it. They may end up
right.
spending more money to try to sell their house and then just settle it with the contractor and just get the new AC unit at that point.
Absolutely,
Got it.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
That's so the HVAC contractor could go try to file a lien, but that it's going to be an invalid lien, and the homeowner is going to have to pay legal fees to have it removed. So
Okay.
okay. Should we be getting next question? Should we be getting applications for tenants over 18 on new properties, like the age of 30 to be exact? Okay. Have you heard the term? Do you know what a stay-at-home son is?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few of those. Yeah.
This was a new one on me. Okay,
Yeah.
and I because you've heard, okay, I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah,
I'm even heard
there's
I'm a
adult kids that don't work. There's adult spouses that don't work. And look, I do a lot of leasing, and like we typically try to get background checks, put everybody that's over the age of 18 as a leaseholder. Um,
yeah.
I think there's situations where you can just have somebody as an occupant that's over the age of 18. A situation I recently had, we had a mother of the main applicant who lived out of country, who doesn't have anything in America to verify whatsoever, plans to come 1 or 2 months at a time to come visit family. I added that person as an occupant, and we'll get an ID from wherever they're from. But I can't really do anything as far as a full application or background check on someone who's not an American citizen or has
Mm,
no real anything other than just visiting. So you do
yeah.
want to put them on the lease if they're there for over, the guest amount of time. Then
Mhm.
there's some legal right for them to be there, but not necessarily obligated to the financial of the lease.
Well, and that's a very specific situation you had, right?
Yeah.
It is difficult to check credit on a foreign person, or any criminal for that matter. And some of that, at some point, you use the common sense approach. If you're the owner, do you want that person in your house or not? Do you want to accept that tenant? Or if it's a soft market, maybe you do. Generally speaking, okay, if they're 18 or over, they should probably be listed on the lease as an occupant, and a
Yes.
background check should be run.
Yes.
Now, if it's like the 19-year-old who's still a senior in high school, maybe not. 30 years old, stay-at-home son, you probably want to make sure he doesn't have any criminal.
Well, we want to at least get
Um,
their social and their IDs, if they're going to still
mm,
be over the age of 18, and then possibly just run a background check to make sure they don't have any outstanding like criminal activity that you don't want to have in your home. Um,
yeah,
so typically I would do that. Even if you don't want to make them financially responsible, you want to get at least a background check on them. Make sure you have the
mm,
information of the person that's living there as much as you can. What I said a minute ago was a very specific situation. It's very unlikely to have those, but you do have them. I mean,
yeah, they come up for
every
certain.
situation, every house has its own set of things. So it's practicing
Yeah.
real estate. That's why.
But this taught me what a stay-at-home son was. I
Yeah,
just thought that was crazy.
you get a lot more of
I'm a
those now.
stay-at-home Big son, if that were my son, you're out. Like I'd pay pack his bags, and you are no longer a stay-at-home. You may be an on the street, son, but you are not a stay-at-home son. Here's your bags,
Yeah,
son. You can't.
you're
You
gonna put
can
them on
come
the
back.
books at home doing something at least.
Nah, I mean, look, you come. Look, if you need to come back and visit for Thanksgiving, Christmas, I understand. But son, you can't live here. It's
Yeah.
time to launch. Okay, so
Get a job or get
all
out.
right. For yes. All right. I think this is our last question. Quick question. Large mold repairs where insurance is getting involved. That's a question in itself, but
Yeah.
all right, we have one where a tenant moved in and noticed a leak and has led to remediation. He's requesting the mold report. Do we provide this to the tenants? I was thinking no, but I have not dealt with the logistics of mold at tenants before. Okay. Well, let's start with this. Okay, we're getting a large mold repairs where insurance is getting involved. Most insurance policies do not cover mold. So that's kind of a surprise to me right there. There may be some confusion. The insurance policies in Texas on homes, rental property, there's generally a big exclusion for any kind of mold. That's because it's such a problem. The insurance companies typically will not carry it. I'm not aware of any kind of additional riders. Maybe there is something, additional endorsements where you could get mold coverage. I don't know. So, um,
Wouldn't the
now
insurance company take care of the plumbing problem that was causing the mold?
yeah, they might fix a leak, if your pipes burst in a freeze, I could see them fixing a leak and sheetrock and all that kind of stuff. But they're not gonna if you sit there and let it get wet and it just sits and sits and sits and mold grows, they can start to say, well, no, our policy doesn't cover mold. Or if you have like a slow drip somewhere and mold spread and grow and it said, well, yeah, maybe, I don't know if they're going to cover the leaky pipe. Like, sure, here's your $300 for your plumber to come out and fix
Yeah,
your leaky pipe,
yeah.
but they may not allow the mold coverage. So probably won't. So this is interesting. Okay, tenants living in the property, they've had some mold remediation done. The tenant wants the mold report. Are we obligated? Is the landlord obligated to give them the mold report? I'm not aware of any obligation, right? Like, hey, if I'm the landlord, I paid for the mold report. You're my tenant. I don't have to give it to you. It's my report. Now there may be liability if you're hiding something and the report was bad and you're not telling the tenant's living there getting sick. That's a big problem. So that's definitely a violation of civil law, maybe even criminal,
But as
but
a tenant,
uh,
you have the right to get a mold inspection done on the property you're living in
well, the,
if you feel like
the,
there's
the,
an issue.
the tenant may be able to call a mold inspector themselves and come out and pay for their own report. Now that's what you're saying. Now I think there's also a question of whether the tenant really has that right or the tenants just do it, right? How would we stop it as the managing
Well,
company?
I think the landlord wouldn't have the right, doesn't have to use the tenant's mold inspection report. The landlord would have the right to go and do their own inspection report. If the
Mm,
tenant wants to
mhm.
show them, oh, hey, we found black mold, in our report, I think the landlord would have to go back and either accept their report or do their own report from a remediation company or someone who's licensed to say to refute, say that that's not right.
Mm.
Because I think if it's brought to their attention, then they have to act on it, right? Is that how that
Yeah.
works?
Yeah, that's a problem. When your tenant does a mold inspection and says, "Oh, here, Mr. Landlord, here's your free mold inspection report," right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem because now our landlord has knowledge. And I've never seen a mold inspector that has not found mold, right?
Well,
It's
they what
kind
they
of
do is they find mold, but they don't always find the black mold. And tenants like to think everything is black mold that they see when, 80% of the time it's just mildew. And it becomes a huge issue because it's just mildew. But yeah, mold inspectors will find mold, but they're not quick to find black mold because black mold is hard to find, actually. It's hard to actually come up to that
okay.
point. Yeah.
Right. Well, and your point, Robert, is well taken. Not all mold is bad mold, I guess, but
It's
or
not.
as bad. And I would say almost every house in Texas probably have some level of mold,
Something.
but
There's a lot of humidity in Texas. There's mold pretty much everywhere.
yeah.
Eh,
Yeah. Yes, sir. So you certainly don't have to give the report to the tenant, but you don't want to hide anything from your tenant. And if you're a landlord, you absolutely do need to remediate. But yeah, well said. Okay. I think we knocked out 5 or 6 really good questions, maybe 4 or 5. I can't remember. I didn't want to say 6 or 7, although I think that fad is over now. All right. I've been your host, Phil Silberman. That brings our show to a close. Robert Vernon has been my co-host. Like us, follow us, review us wherever you get your podcast. And as a reminder, nothing in this show is to be considered legal advice or investment. So this has all been for entertainment purposes only. If you have a question about real estate or something else you'd like us to cover, email us at info@silbermanrealty.com and tell us you want it publicly answered in the podcast. Everybody have a great rest of your week.